Hello and welcome, guys. My name is Badger and welcome to another glorious painting video. And in today's video, we're going to be painting some tabletop ready Night Lords. So let's get into it. All right, well, here is the miniature we're going to be using. It is a primed black. I almost didn't use Night Lord's blue, but it would seem weird to paint a Night Lord with anything but Night Lord's blue. So it has been thinned down a fair amount, as you can see, but that is okay because we like to build the layers up, and it also gives us an excuse to have lots of cups of tea. So this is probably the second layer right now. As you can see, the previous layer has dried before moving on to the next step. Always important, but otherwise you'll peel it up. And this will be the third layer potentially that we've just put on. I think I skipped one. Then we hop over to Nuln oil. This is the old version. I haven't got the new one yet, so we're going to get that into all of the cracks and crevices. We're not going to coat the entire blue armor. We're just going to get it into all of the recesses, and we'll go back and tidy up any spillages in a second. So into all those sort of toe bits around the back of the foot, the knee joint at the front and up near the thigh, the top of the thighs, and that bit of the seam right there. As you can see, just like that. Just wait for it all to dry. Then move on to Night Lord's blue again. And we are going to use that color to tidy up any sort of spillages that the Nuln oil may have done. I am endeavoring to use as many GW paints as possible. I know in the past I've sort of jumped all over the place. I'm going to do my best, though, in future to use as much as I can that's GW. Certainly on Games Workshop miniatures, at least. And as you can see, we're just using the Night Lord's blue to tidy up any sort of bits and pieces that need it from the wash stage. For moving on to the next step, which funnily enough is right now. This is Kantor blue. We're going to use this and we're going to start doing some big fat chunky edge highlights. We're going to get the top of that lower leg greave thing. We're going to get the top of the thigh armor, the toe things. I don't know, all of the edges, we're going to be quite chunky with it. We're not going to worry too much. It's got to get that chunky edge highlight down. And that'll get us in a good position to do the next and final edge highlight for these. Waiting for each layer to dry as before. Getting the toes, as I said. That bit of top of the foot armor as well. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Something weird. And up at the top of the thigh armor there. Weirdly, I don't do the bottom of the upper leg armor. I don't normally do it, and this is one of the few paints that I need to find a replacement for GW wise. This is Vallejo model color German grey. I think I have used Skaven Blight Dinge in the past, and it gives a similar effect that we're going for. So if you don't want to use that Vallejo paint, do potentially check out that. We're going to get the undersuit with this. Has been thinned down a fair amount, so you got to get a couple of layers on potentially before moving on to the next step, which is, and funnily enough, right here with some more Nuln oil. We're going to make sure we wash this black shade into getting it over the entire grey undersuit and into all of the sort of wrinkles or whatever those bits of the suit are. Make sure we don't want to be tidying up even more of the blue, so just be neat with this. We're moving on to the final edge highlight, which is Alaitoc blue. Going to make sure we get a crispy edge highlight, just running the edge of the brush along the sides where possible, getting those raised edges. Just like that. Now, as you can see on this miniature, it's tabletop ready, so I'm not going to include the sort of lightning that you might expect on Night Lord miniatures. I would like to come back in the future and revisit that, but these, just to get them on the tabletop, we just want the edge highlights. We want them a nice dark blue, and then they'll be ready to go. But hopefully in the future video I'll return. We can probably do the basing and maybe even risk freehanding some lightning strikes, etc. on, making sure we get all those edges, getting the top of the armor right there. Yep, that's pretty much good for me. All right, now we're going to move on to Mephiston Red. This paint of mine is very heavily watered down. Hopefully yours isn't quite so watered down. I had to leave it out for a bit for it to sort of dry up a smidgen. But we do work this. We're going to use red as a base for our eye lenses. I like to try and leave a tiny sort of black line at the top and the bottom of the lenses and on the outside part of the lens where possible. So as you can see, there's a bit of black on the top and a smidgen at the bottom as well. And that will give us the look that we want. So I'm going to move over to Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm not entirely sure how necessary this is, certainly for the eyes and tabletop standard. But we're going to add this in the sort of middle half, I guess, of the lens towards the center. Just like that, it will bounce the red up quite nicely. And then we move over to Yriel yellow to get the sort of inner part of the lenses where possible. I remember that. I think that was about the third attempt to get that on. Thankfully, it finally stuck. There we go. Get the inner part of the lens and you can move on. In fact, that did need a bit of a tidy up, I seem to remember. I did run a tiny bit of black around the inside of that lens. As you can see right there, it's been tidied up a little bit. Let me use White Scar, or I personally prefer to use P3 Morrow White, but White Scar would be a good choice for yourselves. And we're just going to tiny dot of white on the outside of the lens right there, and that gives you the look that you might want. Now, as you can see, we've got the lenses and the armor all looking very snazzy in my humble opinion. And now we need to paint the metal work. We've got to paint those sort of chest bits, the thing over the stomach. Don't know what they're called. And obviously the chest bits, but we got Leadbelcher. So using that, we're going to get all those rivets. And as I hilariously say, it is riveting viewing. However, it is stuff which needs to be done unless you just want to leave those rivets blue. There's nothing to say they have to be sort of metal colored. I was in two minds at one point if I wanted to paint them metal at all, but it's an opportunity to show off some different painting techniques, etc. So why not do it? We are going to get the shoulder pads. Going to get this Leadbelcher over all of the rivets around the front of the chest strap things. I almost forgot the stomach bit of cabling. I remembered at the last second, I think. See, right now I haven't done it, and I was thinking, oh, okay, we can move on. No. Yes, there we go. Get that stomach thingamajig. All right, so once you've got that nice as you want it, you can use the Nuln oil yet again to get all of the metal. And also going to get that bolter while I remember it. I suppose you could potentially paint the entire thing with metal and blue and then come back, Nuln oil over the entire thing, and then just go back and tidy everything up at the same time. That could be an option to save a bit more time. It didn't take too long to do this video. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe in the future I'll do that. However, so we go over all of the Leadbelcher parts with this Nuln oil and wait for it to dry thoroughly. All right, now we're going to go back to the Leadbelcher, and this is the final stage. I'm not going to go any brighter with these. I would like them to be a sort of relatively dull metal color. They're already looking quite dull, but we're just going to leave this Leadbelcher just on a sort of upwards vertical, as you can see it from now, from where you are right now on the camera, facing parts of the rivets, or the skyward face, I suppose you could say. Want to get all those bits of the rivets, and also the same with the chest and stomach straps where possible. Stomach part might be a bit of an issue, especially with this brush. I don't know if I risk it or not. But there we go. There is the fully finished miniature. I'm pretty happy with this. As I said before, I think in a future video we will be revisiting to do the lightning and some decent basing. But for tabletop ready, it is good to go. You could put on a transfer on the spare shoulder pad to show off it's definitely a Night Lord. But as this is probably one of my first, I'm very happy with how he looks. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and watching this video. We have been painting up the Night Lords, and in next week's video, we'll be painting up the Blood Angels. If you don't want to miss that video, make sure you've smashed that subscribe button, liked, because that will really help notify. But also make sure you've hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.